one, take one.
Carl Fogarty, welcome to the Tyrrell Shed.
Pleasure.
We'll start right at the beginning of your career. When you first got on a bike, can you remember that day?
Yeah, it would have been my 9th birthday. My dad got me a little homemade kind of Honda monkey bike kind of thing, a Honda 50cc engine. He bought from a Honda dealer in Blackburn who built it for his son, who outgrew it, and I paid I think a few £100 for it. So yeah, it was my first ever go. I think it was my 9th birthday. It could have been my 10th, I'm not sure. But it was just in the back garden, yeah. And the throttle stuck wide open. I went straight into a plant pot at the end of the garden, so it wasn't a good start.
And did you get the bug from that point? Was that kind of the beginning of everything?
Yeah, because I was brought up around bikes. My father used to race, so all my childhood memories are kind of being with him and sleeping in the van and then in the caravan at racetracks like Cadwell Park and Brands Hatch, Silverstone. So I was with being brought up around bikes. I think whatever you get brought up around as a kid, chances are you're going to want to do that as a hobby or a profession, as it turned out for me. So yeah, all I ever knew I wanted to do was race bikes from a very early age. Yeah.
And you did start relatively young. You were like 19 years old. You had your first appearance at the TT. What was that experience like?
Yeah, again, I was kind of brought up with the TT. My dad raced there for years, ever since I was born, and it was like a family holiday for us as kids. I got 2 weeks off school, which is great because I hated school, to go to the TT to watch my dad. So I always wanted to race the TT and win the TT. But yeah, that first time kind of setting off on Glen Crutchley Road down Barry Hill, it's pretty daunting. I've done a lot of laps in a car and stuff before. I've been there many years as a kid, like I said, but yeah, it was nothing to prepare you for like that moment you set off on a bike down sort of Bray Hill. It's pretty daunting, really, yeah. But exciting as well.
Yeah, you mentioned your dad. What was that dynamic like for you growing up in that environment? Did you feel prepared, or was there added pressure because everybody knew who you were?
No, I didn't feel pressure. I certainly didn't have a pressure from my dad. He didn't push me into racing at all. It was kind of me that wanted to go. I did a bit of schoolboy motocross quite late, really, at sort of 15 years old, 16. He didn't push me to start any earlier, which I kind of wish he had done, really, to be fair. But no, I'd no pressure from him. I just something I really wanted to do. I just brought up around bikes, like I said, as a kid, and I wanted to go racing. I wanted to be world champion. I would just tell anybody that would listen to me for more than 2 minutes I was going to be a race bikes and be a world champion. You know, that was it.
So you did find some success quite quickly. 3 TT wins. Was that a surprise, or were you kind of gunning for that from the beginning?
No, I was pretty focused and motivated and sort of confident that I would win the TT. It took me 3 or 4 years to learn it, which it does kind of most people, really. It's a lot of laps around there to really get sort of dialed into to know how fast you can go in a lot of the sections. But yeah, I won the TT in '89 with a heck of a battle I had with the 2 fastest guys around there at the time, Steve Islop and Dave Leach, in a production race. And I'd set off 10 seconds behind Steve, and I set off. It was the last year of 2 people setting off together, number 7 and number 8, which I was number 8 with Dave Leach, and he was fast. And I was clinging on to him, and then we caught Steve Islop up on the last lap, and he had to pull away 10 seconds on that last lap to have a chance of winning. And it came into the Ramsey in the Parliament Square area, and he hadn't pulled any time at all. So I remember waving to him saying, "Get back, this is not your race anymore. You haven't pulled 1 second on us to round to Ramsey, so you're not going to pull 10 seconds over me now on the mountain on my favourite part of the circuit." So just a race between me and Dave Leach then, because we set off together. Who would get over the line first would win the first TT, well, my first TT. And I managed to hold him off. He came alongside me going down to Hilbury, and I let go of the brakes and flying around Hilbury as fast as I could, and around Crockner Valley section, then to Signpost Corner, Governors. I was so late on the brakes into Governors, I almost lost the front end of the bike, and came up on the Glen Crutchley Road, kind of weaving a bit to try and get him off in my slipstream, and I pulled 1.8 seconds on him in the last 3 or 4 corners. I went that quick, and yeah, it was a special feeling winning my first TT. Yeah, it was good.
What does it take? Like, how do you even do that? Like, for us watching people fly around the TT, it's barely believable. What's the mindset like to race at the TT?
Like I said, 'cause it's something I wanted to do as a kid, something I was brought up with. I almost didn't even see the dangers, to be honest. I was that young and hungry to win that I didn't really see the danger. You know, it was just my mindset was I really want to race the TT. I want to win. It's a special feeling riding around that place. I think someone once said to me that the closest you are to death is the most you feel alive, and that's exactly how it is at the TT. You're very close to death all the time, but you feel alive. You feel, you know, even now I get goosebumps kind of talking about it. You're pushing so hard around with stone walls and trees and curbs and bankings and stuff, and you kind of do a lap round there and you think, whoa, that was unbelievable. Let's put some more fuel in, I want to go again. It's just madness really to think about it, but it's just what I wanted to do.
Would you say it's the purest form of motorcycle racing?
Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, it's unique. There's nothing else like in the world. I still can't believe it's legal that you can do that really anymore. But yeah, it is. It's a special place. Yeah, and I enjoyed my time there. I really did. I wanted to win and then move on to be a short circuit world champion, and that's kind of what I did.
Yeah. So moving into kind of circuit racing, how did that happen?
Well, I started circuit racing. My first ever go on a bike was at Aintree, which obviously famous for the Grand National. It was a little road race circuit around the outskirts of the race course, and I think they used to have the Grand Prix there, the Formula One Grand Prix there. I think I was there in the early 60s or something. I'm sure it was. So I started racing on short circuit straight away before I did the TT or anything like that. Just on a 250 Yamaha, just trying to win races, which I kind of did from the offset. Really, I was quite determined and quite focused, and I was going to win, and started winning club races pretty much straight away, and then national races, and then obviously as the years progressed, it got into international and then the World Championships.
How would you assess that kind of era in your career, those 80s years when you were building up? You say you wanted to become a world champion. Did you feel as though that was the path you were on at that stage?
I did, yeah, until I had a big crash in '86. I was really going quick on a 250 Grand Prix bike. I'd breaking lap records most weekends at Snetterton, Scarborough, Aberdare, Mallory. And then I did the British Grand Prix. I pretty much had to beg for a ride in the British Grand Prix, to be honest, and they let me ride because I was very fast at that time, very young though, but they kind of warned me not to get in the way of some of the top Grand Prix guys, and I was riding a bit hot-headed. But anyway, it rained really hard for the race, and I kept the bike upright, kept it on 2 wheels, and finished 11th in the British Grand Prix, which was great really for me. It was, I was so young, and then I got quite a few offers to go to Grand Prix racing. I had a meeting with Chaz Mortimer a week later, who run the Silverstone Armstrong team in Grand Prix, about going to Grand Prix with him in '87. And then a week later, I was testing at Alton Park for the British Championship round there, and I crashed and broke my leg pretty badly, to be honest, a compound fracture of my femur. And that was the end of that season then, really. Then the offers of '87 didn't really materialise, to be honest, and it was me making a bit of a comeback in '87 from a badly broken leg, and I was never that comfortable on 250 bikes after that, really. Struggling for movement in my leg. And I crashed again at Silverstone and broke my leg again, where it had been infected from when it was on traction from the year before. So I was spent a year or two kind of in the wilderness, really, with injuries to my right leg, so at that point I'm thinking, I've been derailed from my goal of being world champion. Is it ever going to happen, sort of thing, And I remember the doctors saying, "Have you never thought about retiring from racing?" I was like, sort of, "Oh, at 23." I'm like, "Well, I've not been world champion yet. I'm determined, So that was a bit of a shock and a bit of a wake-up call, really, to in my career, I guess. But in some ways, it was a lucky break in a way, because it then took me off the littler bikes, the 250 bikes, and onto like a superbike. And I got on a superbike in '88 and just felt so comfortable on this bike. I was only riding at sort of 80% within myself, really, because I couldn't really afford to crash and damage my leg again. And I ended up winning the TTF1 World Championship in my first year on a superbike, and winning the Ulster Grand Prix and winning a big race in Italy. I won the Irish international race at Kirkstown, the Neil Robinson Memorial Race. So I had a great year in '88 when I wasn't really riding that hard, having come off 250s and had the leg injuries and stuff for almost 2 years. So yeah, that was a bit of a worrying time, but then I soon put it right with my results on the bigger bikes and won that TTF1 World Championship, like I said, in '88. Yeah.
So having the big crashes, obviously, is that a turning point where you go from the young, fiery upstart into a maturer, perhaps more rounded rider? Is that the kind of moment where you turned into a world champion?
Well, you kind of you learn as you go through experience and through crashing, and then you kind of learn from your mistakes, or you try to, and get more consistent as the years go by, as you get a bit older, a bit wiser, and yeah, that was I guess you can't win a world championship unless you're consistent. So I became a lot more a consistent rider, and yeah, won the world championships. Yeah.
And then the World Superbike Championship kind of formed. Did you feel as though you had to be part of that? Obviously, you'd had your success on Superbikes. Was that a big moment for you?
It turned out to be, yeah. I mean, I wanted to go to Grand Prix, but my career path took me to Superbike, and Superbike became so big because it was so new, and the public loved it. They could buy a bike that I was racing, basically, and the TV coverage of it was new. It was every race was shown live on Sky, and then they went behind the scenes and did the practice and interviews and stuff, and it became so big. And my career path went to Superbikes and stayed there, and it became bigger than Grand Prix in Superbike in a lot of countries. I mean, even this country for sure, it was like, I think the Grand Prix were getting 14,000, 15,000 there, and we were getting 120,000 at Brands Hatch. It was a massive thing with Superbikes. It became like the golden era, as people say. When we look back on it now, it was an incredible time to be racing, really, with Superbikes at that time.
And again, for you, it wasn't an easy start, was it? Because you had your run with Honda, and then Honda pulled out. So that's another kind of stepping stone you had to overcome. How was that kind of time for you?
Yeah, with Honda, I rode for the Honda Britain team and did the TT, won the TT with Honda, won the TTF1 World Championship with Honda, then went to World Superbike with them and struggled with the bike, really. The bike was past its sell-by date then, really. It really was. No, it was no match for the Ducatis or the factory Kawasaki's or the Yamahas. And so in '91, I had a pretty average sort of year, really. Didn't really set the world on fire, but I knew deep down how good I was. I believed I was the best out there, but I needed the bike to prove this, So when Honda kind of pulled out in '91, then I didn't want to stay with them in Britain, to be honest. So I just ended up buying my own bike from the money I'd made, I guess, with Honda in the sort of early 90s, 91, 1990, and spent it on buying a Ducati, which you could buy a Ducati. It came as a race bike and a race truck, and got a mechanic, and it was a big gamble, really, and went racing with the Ducati. We didn't have any spur wheels or spur engines or anything like that. And at the second round at Donington Park, which is a real rider's circuit, I won against all the odds, against all the factory teams. I think I'm probably the last person ever to win as a privateer a world championship race, and that really kind of propelled me in front of the factories in the teams and stuff for Superbike in '93, and I signed my first contract then in '93 with the factory Ducati team, and I guess the rest is history, as they say, really.
Yeah, we'll dig into that in just a short while. I wanted to touch on that win in Donington, because it's your first kind of win in the Superbike, World Superbikes. How special a moment was that for you, especially in front of home fans?
Yeah, it was such emotional, because the year before, and obviously spending my own money on buying the Ducati to go racing in '92, and then I led the first race. I was comfortable in the lead by 3 or 4 seconds, and I just run off the edge of the tyre around the last corner and fell off, and I was in pieces. I was just heartbroken. I was so upset, and my dad's having a go at me, and my wife's sticking up for me, and I just felt at all-time low. Nothing was going right, and then to turn it all around 2.5, 3 hours later, and win that second race, the first ever race, it was just so emotional. I was just in tears. I really was. Yeah, it was special. It really was. Yeah.
Even at that stage, you know, you're relatively new in that space. Not necessarily a well-known figure in front of the wider British public. What was the reaction like from the fans at that stage?
Well, the fans weren't, the crowds weren't that big really in that sort of 1992 season. It was before the TV kind of coverage and stuff, and just as Superbikes were kind of just being born in a way. I can't remember, to be honest, the fans or anything at that point. It was a cold day, and I don't remember anything. It's just all a bit of a blur, to be honest. I remember winning the race and being emotional on the rostrum and that, but I can't remember there being a big crowd there or anything like that, really, to be fair. No.
And at that stage, you were still competing elsewhere, so you were still kind of racing at the Isle of Man, Le Mans, Macau, all kinds of places. How was it balancing that workload at that stage when you were starting to, you'd got your Ducati contract, you were starting to focus more on that? Was that just for you, or was there an element of?
I was racing anything that was offered to me in '92 to help pay to run the Ducati World Superbike campaign, really. So I did the Kawasaki World Endurance Championship, won every round of that, and was world champion, endurance world champion, which again was another box ticked off, really. And then I did the British Grand Prix on the Yamaha. I was running 5th in the Grand Prix. Went out on some oil from one of the other riders at Red Gate with a few laps to go. Did the TT, as you said, and set the lap record there, which stood for 7 years. Did Macau and did some racing in Malaysia, and it was all to pay for the running of this Ducati, really, So, but everything I rode that year, everything I touched kind of turned to gold. I always had success on it with the World Endurance, the Isle of Man, British Grand Prix, the Malaysian races. In Macau, I won them all. So, yeah, it was a big year, really, that kind of got me in front of the big teams for '93, really.
So I guess at that point, were Ducati chasing you at that stage? Were you the big name they wanted?
Yeah, well, I got a phone call from Raymond Roche, who was a former world champion who run the team for the factory Ducati, and he just said, "Do you want to ride for me next year?" I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." And he just said, "How much do you want?" I went, 50 grand. And I had the conversation with Claudio Castiglione, who was the boss of the Cagiva group who owned Ducati. And after he said that, I kind of started laughing a bit when he said 50 grand. You could have got at least 100 grand. No, thanks for telling me that, mate. Cheers. So that was it, really. Yeah, that was my first contract signed with Ducati for 50 grand, which is not a lot these days.
So yeah, the money's one thing, but obviously racing for a marque like Ducati, they're obviously a big name in motorbike racing generally. Was that the biggest moment in your career as a whole? Because obviously it led to so much more after that as well.
Yeah, Ducati were the #1 team, the best bike to be on, the best team in Superbikes. So, having just ridden my own Ducati that previous year, then that was where I wanted to be. And so when you got the call from them, then you didn't say no, you said yes straight away. And like I said, I didn't really worry about the money. I could have got a lot more, but I thought I was being greedy asking for 50 grand. But my team manager, who said, that was funny when you said that, you could have got at least double that. Oh, great. Yeah.
Love it. And then you were immediately successful. So 1993 was a massive season for you. Obviously, fell short of the title, which 11 wins, and you still fell short. Tell us about that season.
Yeah, I was still a bit inexperienced in some ways, even though I was like sort of late 20s. And I just led so many races and crashed. I crashed at Brands Hatch while leading, Donington while leading, Portugal while leading, Japan while leading, and I lost the championship to American, who was a big rival of mine. He only won 4 races, I think, that year, and I won, 11. but it was the old point system where it was 20 for a win, then 17 for second. So every time I won, he'd be second. I couldn't really catch the points. Not like now where it's 25, then 20. You know, it was 5-point gap straight away, and then 2 races is 10. So back in '93, it was only most you could get was 6 points back, and he was very consistent, and I wasn't really. I just made too many mistakes, and I should have won the championship that year. I threw it away. It's my own fault. Nobody couldn't blame anybody else but myself.
Was that the big moment that turned you into a champion?
Yeah, well, again, I learned from that in '94. I knew that, you know, I had to stop the crashing and be a lot more consistent, and that's exactly what I did. Really, I was a lot more consistent. Even though in '94, at the first round of the new bike, I managed to win the first race, and we weren't even ready for the season. Really, the bike didn't feel that great at the start. It felt a bit nervous, a bit twitchy for me, not compared to the 888 bike, and. But we won the first race, which was more of a shock to me than anybody else. And people expected me to win, but I didn't think we could win so soon with a brand new model of bike, you know. And then the second round, I crashed in practice and broke my wrist. So I'm thinking, I'm not going to win this year now. I got broken. I missed 2 races. Watching him on the van while the American guy, Scott Russell, won both races. I'm like, there's so many points behind, but that. But then after that round, the Hockenheim round, Germany, when I had to watch the races with the broken wrist, I came back then in Albacete with a bit of a strapping on. After the Misano race afterwards, I raced with a broken wrist and struggled to finish really. I was running 5th, but I couldn't use the clutch properly because of my wrist. And the gearbox went with a few laps to go. I was like, just got absolutely gutted, to be honest. And then in the second race, I managed to finish 5th with the bike and with my wrist injury. And then 2 weeks later, I was pretty much all healed up, and Albacete was a good track for me in '93. I'd won both races there, and I kicked off my season really in '94 at Albacete, won both races, then followed up by winning the next 2 in Austria, and pulled all the points back. My main rival had a bit of a nightmare in Austria, and before I knew it, I was within a few points of the lead really, and it was a bit of a battle all year, that year, '94, which ultimately led it down to the last race of the year, the other side of the world in Australia, when I was just a few points in the lead, and I knew what I had to do, and I did all my kind of homework in practice, made sure we got the right setup for the bike, for the race, right tyre, and won the first race, and pretty much had one hand on the trophy then really in '94. And then second race, I just had to follow him around and just, you know, win, and that was just, I did that, and it was just a flood of tears and emotion. The relief of finally winning that first world title when I'd come close in '93 and should have won it in '93, but to finally do it in '94, the last race of the year, the other side of the world, all the TV and stuff, and even Barry Sheene was there, kind of trying to interview me, and I was pushing him out the way, trying to get to my wife and just embrace her and stuff. It was really emotional, a lot of relief for finally winning that world championship. The first one was special. Yeah.
And you mentioned Scott Russell. He was obviously a successful rider, fast rider. You saw him off really, like your performances, despite having had a struggle at the start of the year. You beat him fair and square. Was that equally as important for you?
Yeah, it felt good to beat the American, who was, like I say, we were very similar characters in a lot of ways. We both really wanted to win. We both say as it was. We had this kind of verbal, kind of banter, I guess you'd call it, before the races. I would say stuff about him, he'd say stuff about me. It was the press loved it, media loved it, fans loved it. It was like, I don't know if it was hatred. It kind of felt like a hatred at the time, but I don't really think it was hatred. But it felt good to finally put one over on him after he'd done me in sort of '93. Really, yeah, it was good.
You've spoken about emotions quite a lot so far. What was the overriding emotion, would you say, becoming world champion?
Just relief. It was just relief. Because I'd finally done what I'd sort of set out to do, but it maybe took a year or two longer, and it was just the relief. I just felt so much release of everything, all the emotions, everything had gone, and then kind of the year after, I was I was almost a better rider. I was faster, smoother, more consistent even, and I had that pressure of not having to win the World Championship because I'd already won it. So the pressure was kind of off, but I wanted to retain it and did do in sort of dominant style really in '95. But yeah, it was the relief, I guess.
We'll talk about the '95 season. We're obviously celebrating it in a big way at Festival of Speed, which will be cool. You say the pressure was off. Were you more determined to hold the title?
Yeah, I was, because I think Barry Sheene had said to me, he said, now you've won, there's only one way to go now, that's to be beaten. I went, I don't like the sound of that, I'm not going to be beaten. And yeah, so in '95, it was the second year of the new bike really, the 916, and it was just a dream to ride the bike, it really was. And I just felt more at ease, more happier, more consistent. I don't know, it just seemed an easier year to retain the title than it did to win it. I'd won it with 2 rounds to go, I think. It was, yeah, it was a dream season. Probably my favourite season, really, in the ways of how I felt and how it went. You know.
I was going to ask you that. Do you reckon '95 was your best season? Yeah,
the '95 bike was my favourite bike to ride. It really was. It was just did everything I wanted it to. It was just a dream to ride. It really was. I could speed up and control races and stuff. And yeah, it was just. Superbikes became so big then. It really did. It just overnight. We went to Brands Hatch in '95, and 60,000 people turned up. It was just wow. I just remember opening the curtain of the motorhome at 8 o'clock on the Sunday morning. And the grandstand was full. I was like, whoa! And it was a red hot day. I'd never won a race of any kind at Brands Hatch, club level or anything. And yeah, I always say it was the most perfect day's racing I've ever had. I could just do anything in them races, and I won both races quite comfortably, and in front of like 60,000 people who'd never. The crowds had come back to racing since the days of Barry Sheene in the late '70s. With been no crowds throughout the '80s at all that come to watch racing, and suddenly they were back with this new series called Superbikes and all the TV coverage, and like with Sky TV, they kind of made personalities of us all, and it was a great time. It was Cool Britannia and all that kind of stuff. It was it was good. It was all happening in the UK, really. Yeah, it felt good to be British.
Were you aware of Foggy Mania while it was happening?
I kind of wasn't really. No. I think what did surprise me when I went down to London. I was flown down to London to promote the Brands Hatch race at a couple of local TV stuff in London, and went for a signing at Planet Hollywood. I remember pulling up in the car outside Planet Hollywood, and there was this massive queue of people all around outside, and I'm going, oh God, I wonder who's in here today, who's this lot for? And the girl who was with me, she said, it's for you. I went, what? I was just gobsmacked. I didn't think anyone in London knew who I was, you know. And to be in Planet Hollywood, there was this massive queue of people wanting autograph and pictures. It was just amazing, yeah. But I was probably not really aware of I was becoming a bit of a household name and fame and stuff, because I was that wrapped up in that single-mindedness of wanting to win and focus on winning and thinking about winning and racing and stuff, that I wasn't really aware of everything else that was going on, to be honest, no.
And you mentioned Brands Hatch. There's obviously that famous image of you with the Union flag in front of the fans. Did you feel like a superstar at that point? Did you feel as though you were, you know, because World Superbikes really at that stage was about you, wasn't it? You were the main attraction.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it felt good winning. I think goosebumps now thinking about it. It did, yeah. It was, yeah, you felt like a superstar, obviously, because you just won both races at your home race, in front of a huge crowd on a red hot day in August. Yeah, it was a special day. Yeah.
You mentioned the bike, the 916. What made that Ducati so good?
It just suited me as a rider. The power of the bike, the handling of the bike, the way I could carry the lean angle on the bike I could carry, the corner speed I could carry. It was just built for for my strengths as a rider, which was all about sort of lean angle and carrying mid corner speed. I'd carried so much more mid corner speed than the other guys, to be honest. So it just, the bike would let me do that. It was just the perfect bike for me.
So Carl, we're going to have a little look at some of your bikes, some of your championship winners.
Right, collection here.
A lovely collection of Ducatis. We'll start with this one, your 1994 championship winning bike. What do you remember of this?
It was the first year of this model, the 916, which turned out to be the best bike ever, really. It was just initially it was a bit nervous and a bit short, the bike. And if you look here on the swinging arm, you can see the weld there. We lengthened the swinging arm, wow. And then we put the offset out, and that made it a lot more suited to my style of riding. Like carry a lot more corner speed and flow through the corners. So. Yeah. So that was the main thing with that one, really.
You're mentioning about the fuel tank and the position of the fuel tank. So this was a bike that you got on with.
Yeah.
So what was the difference in the fuel tanks? Because this was the one that you said was not to your liking.
I know, and I didn't know at the time. But I mean, you can see the tank now. It's sat so high up compared to these two, and I can't believe I didn't realise at the time why I couldn't get off the bike. It's because the tank was a lot bigger and a lot higher. And it kind of cost me a lot of time in the corner. I couldn't get off the bike properly, and with the injector system on it as well, it kept snapping open the throttle. So it proved to be a difficult year, and I didn't realise at the time when we should have done that it was the tank that was the problem. No one said anything at Ducati when I went back to them in '97. It wasn't until I think '99 where we put a smaller tank on the '99 bike that I could get off the bike again. You know, it was just things you kind of learn after, but you should have learned at the time, really. Yeah.
And these are obviously Superbikes, so they're production based. What kind of work does go on to fettle this to you as a rider? Is there anything that the team can do to turn this into your bike, or do you have to adjust?
Well, like I said, with that bike, from riding the 888 in 1993, that felt a lot better mid corner for me carrying speed on it. So this one felt short and twitchy and nervous, and so I kind of said that. So we obviously lengthened the swinging arm and put the offset out, and it felt more like my 88 888 bike from '93. So you do alter the bike to suit the rider. The rider's got to be happy with the package that's underneath him. So we did that, and then the bike felt great to ride then. And, it's perfect. And you were happy with this one. This was a championship winner. How do you feel stood next to this bike, the bike that delivered you your first title? Oh, it's great to see it again. It really is. It feels special. It really is. It brings back a lot of memories. Going down to the last race of the year, Australia, other side of the world, and doing what I had to do to win it. Yeah, it was. I'll give it a little kiss yesterday. So I said, "See you again, old girl." Good stuff. And the hope is that you're going to ride several of these at the Festival of Speed. Does that fill you with joy, excitement? Yeah, I think they're all going to be running by then. So probably do one each day or something. One in the morning, one in the afternoon. So we'll ride the 2000, the 99, 94, and maybe the 95 one. I think that's coming along as well. So that'll be good. Really good. Which one excites you most? Of these four, probably this one, the 94 one, because it's the first one. Yeah, definitely. Overall, my 95 one was my favourite, which it's not here today, but hopefully that'll be here for the festival. Have you rode any of these since your career? No, I haven't. I rode that one yesterday. It was the first time I rode that since 2000 when I had the accident in Australia. So I'm trying to think if I rode any of them, any sort of classic parade laps or anything, and I can't recalling riding any of them since the years I actually raced them. So it's going to feel good to actually wobble up the hill on them, I guess. So let's just stroll over here. I believe this is the 99 bike. 99 bike. Talk us through what made this such a success. Is there anything different here that we wouldn't see on any of the others? I think the engine size increased, but apart from that, it's basically a similar same sort of bike as sort of 94. Really, it didn't change that much at all. The chassis is still the same. The engine increased. Like I say, we went back to a smaller fuel tank from 97 bike, which helped me get off the bike in the corners a lot more and carry a lot more corner speed with the bike. But no, apart from that, it's not really changed much. Really, it didn't really change a lot. I mean, it was a winning package, so if it's not broke, you don't fix it. Really, it's.
I believe this is the exact chassis that you won several of your races in. So quite a special one for you as a personal thing. Is there a connection that you feel when you kind of get on a bike for the first time? You always hear racing drivers say, "Oh, I knew straight away it was going to be good." Do you jump straight on this and say, "Yeah, this is a good one"?
Yeah, because we had a few issues in '98 with the bike, and we'd ironed them out and put them into play on the 99 bike. And when I rode it in the first test in Misano, I was beaming. I was like, big smile on my face. It feels great. It feels like my bike from '95, really. So we're gonna have a good year. The package is spot on.
Yeah. Do you mind jumping on it?
No, not at all.
Want to jump on that? Talk us through kind of what are you doing when you're sat on this? You've obviously got gauges and things. This is all 90s, so it's quite.
Yeah, it's quite basic, isn't it, really? There's not a lot to it. It's not like nowadays where there's just thousands of buttons everywhere and everything's electronic. It was just a dashboard with a rev counter, and that's it, really. Simple as that. I wish they were all like that these days, but unfortunately not, with technology and the way things move on. But no, it takes me right back to starting out in '99. It just feels exactly how I would remember it felt, with the bars kind of in. I like the bars quite in. I could get off the bike more in the corners. Yeah, it's.
And is there anything you can kind of manage from here? Is there any, you've got brakes, you've got clutch, you've got throttle. Is there anything else that you can do to?
I can adjust the brake. If the brake's coming back to the bar, I can adjust it here. Yeah. Turn that wheel to put the bar.
And that's at speed.
Brake lever further out. Yeah. During obviously coming down the straight, I could just wind it out a bit quickly. Just 1 second or 2 seconds to do that, and that's pretty much all I could do, really.
What's that feel like?
Feels good, yeah. It feels. I just keep getting a bit goosebumps and can get pretty emotional, like being back on all these bikes again. It's a real, it's a real feeling to see them all. It's a special feeling, yeah. A big part of my life and my career. So.
Is that going to be a special moment when you roll up the hill?
Yeah, it is, because last time I rode up the hill on the Ducati would have been 2001, so it'd be sort of almost 25 years ago since I actually rode one of these things up the hill. So yeah, that's going to feel special. Yeah.
Jump off that one. Let's have a look at one more over here, which is not filled with quite so many happy memories. A 2000 bike.
Yeah. I didn't do many races on this one. Just did the second round. It all ended. It was very similar to the 99 bike to ride, to be honest, very similar. I don't think the engine size increased this year as well, so it was pretty much a replica of the 99 bike. But yeah, it didn't, the season didn't go to plan at all at the second round with the big crash and the career-ending crash, and that was...
What kind of power are these things producing at that stage?
I think they're around about 170 brake horse, which seems like nothing compared to like now, where they're like 250 plus brake horsepower. But obviously we didn't have electronics that the bikes have these days or anything like that. But when I rode one yesterday, I found it easier to lift the front wheel up on this bike with the torque and how easy it was to come up compared to like a brand new sort of Panigale bike where you got to have the revs counted. The revs a bit up, almost like 10,000 or more to actually wheelie the bike. I couldn't do it, and with this it came up straight away. I remembered it from years ago, so that was good. That's cool.
And obviously having this number one on there is quite cool. Did you get used to that in your career?
Yeah, I mean, I was born on the first, so it's my favourite number one. It was every time I saw a Motorbike, I always put a little number one at the side. So yeah, it's the only number that counts, really. I just love the simplicity of it, but the power it sends out to everybody else that you are the world champion, the number one. Yeah, so it's good.
And these tyres, I've just been informed, are original tyres from 25 years ago. So they've been. They're not much use now, I guess.
Not really, no.
You were out on the circuit yesterday.
Yeah, I know. I was a bit nervous, but I was only following the car at like 40 mile an hour, so that was fine. But I wouldn't like to sort of ride the bike in anger around the circuit without the car being on, and on these sort of 25-year-old plastic tyres now, so no, it wouldn't be good.
Fresh rubber for festival speed.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Right, if I just lead you back over here, I just want you to tell me how it makes you feel to see 4 red Ducatis. You know, it's the epitome of superbike racing in the 90s. What does that view say to you?
It just says 90s all over, really. It just the golden era of World Superbikes, probably the best era ever, to be honest, with the crowds, TV coverage, and yeah, I get a bit goosebumpy and get emotional looking back at them all, and yeah, just a lot of my life is all there with them 4 bikes. Yeah, absolutely.
Is there a sense of pride that it was
Yeah.
all down to you?
All down to me, and Ducati, and a bit of luck, and a lot of dedication.
Great stuff. Thank you.
Cheers.
Still. And then 1996, return
We
to
skipped
Honda.
96.
Tell us about that. What was going on there?
Yeah, you know what, I don't know. I still to this day wonder why I broke up a winning team, winning bike, and went to Honda, which I think I don't know. I think the money was one thing, which was crazy, really, looking back now. But I saw the bike and saw how fast it was, the bike. It was faster than my Ducati, and I thought, it looks like the front end of the bike looks good on it. It didn't seem to have the problems I had with the Hondas in the early 90s. And it was a team that I knew well from Britain, from my Honda Britain days. They ran the team. And it was very professional, whereas the Ducati outfit was really disorganised, and well, it was just really disorganised, to be honest. Never knew what I was doing from day to day. But on the Honda one it was all professional, everybody in the right clothing, and I got a free car and a free dirt bike and that kind of stuff, and yeah, so I went to Honda, and then as soon as I got there, I just thought, what have I done? It's not all it seems. At Ducati, it was like my team, my family. There, I was just like a number, really. Honda was such a big corporation, and I never felt like it was my team. And the bike, it didn't really suit my style, really, of riding. I couldn't carry the mid-corner speed that I could with the Ducati. It was fast. The bike was very fast, really was. And I won races on it. And I actually still went down to the last round of the year, and I could have won the World Championship. So people think it was a bit of a disastrous year, but it wasn't that bad, really. I came out 4th at the end, but I could have won the World Championship at the last round. I was like 30 points behind. Mathematically, could have won it, even though it was unlikely. But I just thought, I don't want to be. They offered me the deal for a year after, a lot more money as well. I just thought, no, I want to be back on my bike in my team, in my family sort of thing. And so that was it. 97, they took me back, welcomed me back with open arms, and I'm surprised he did, actually, having for me to leave him. But Virginio Ferrari was the team manager, and he said to Castiglione, he said, Castiglione said, I don't know, he left us for Honda. He said, it's like when you eat the soup or something and you reheat the soup, and the soup tastes better. It's like, I couldn't quite figure out what he meant, but I thought he was trying to say, if we take him back, it might be even better. So, yeah, and it was a difficult year in '97. It really was, because I jumped on the bike and I thought, this feels different than my '95 bike. I couldn't figure out why. They changed the injector system on it to a single injector, and it was very snappy. It was a bike mid corner, and I couldn't get off the bike properly. And I struggled. I was riding really hard, really fast that year in '97, but I went to be inconsistent again. I kept crashing out of races. I could see me slipping in the World Championship to John Kaczynski, who was again a big rival. I was leading championship for most of the year, but I kept complaining all the time about the bike. I couldn't carry the corner speed or get the lean angle right with the bike, and it wasn't until even a year after that we realised that the fuel tank, even looking behind me now, it's 97 bike, so the fuel tank was sat, it was a lot bigger fuel tank, it was sat a lot higher, and that was why I couldn't get off it. We'd never even realised it, didn't even notice why, until 2 years later, until '99, when they said, look, we're going to put a smaller tank back on, I like your '95 bike. I went, oh my God, all the time in '97 I was struggling to get off the bike, and now I realise why, because the tank was sat up that high. I couldn't get off it, and mid-corner, lean angle and corner speed I couldn't carry, so it was a bit of a battle in 97 because everything had changed, and the engine guy had changed, the suspension guy had changed, and but I rode hard that year. I rode really hard, but I rode over the limit and crashed out of races when I was leading in Albacete, Japan, Brands Hatch, where I won the second race in the wet, but I crashed out the first race trying to get to the front too eager. But yeah, it was a difficult return to Ducati. It wasn't, I was expected to win the World Championship straight away, and had I not left Ducati in 95, I think I almost certainly would have won the championship in 96 and 97. I'm 100% certain of that.
Is there, obviously you accept that now, was there frustration at the time? Did you struggle with that?
The frustration for me was, in 97, was with the bike and not really getting the bike sorted. I just have to ride it and ride it hard, and just having struggled getting off the bike, and with this injector system being a bit snappy at mid-corner, and me not getting off the bike proper mid-corner was difficult. But I was just determined. I was riding so hard that year and pushing so hard that I ultimately made mistakes and crashed out of races and lost the World Championship to John Krasinski, which hurt, to be honest, because I didn't particularly like him at all.
We'll talk about some of your rivals in a little while. On to 1998, because that also, you won the championship. Not an easy season necessarily.
No.
Battling with the bike, but did you change anything, or was it just that extra year of experience?
98, the bike felt a little bit easier to ride, but I kind of struggled. I was really motivated and really hungry and riding hard and fast in 97, and in 98 I'd kind of there's times where I kept losing my way and losing my interest in racing a little bit. I was struggling at some rounds. I kept complaining about my knee and my back having trouble, and I didn't win many races that year. But luckily for me, the other guys were pretty much inconsistent as well. And I remember getting a talking to from David Tardozzi. He said to me in America, he said, "Look, you either want to race or you don't want to race. Stop wasting our time blaming this, blaming that. You want to race, you want to win, you can still win. You need to do it. You sort yourself out and get on with it. Not wasting our time." I thought, oh my God, it's like no one's ever spoken to me like that before, And I thought, I'll show him now. And I kind of turned it around. I did the last few rounds, got really consistent and won in Assen again. And then it went down to the last race, and I believed I could win the World Championship at the last round. I was about 5 points behind, but I knew if I did all my homework and did everything right in Friday and Saturday, then come the race, I would be all right. And it was great. I mean, the Honda guy, Aaron Slatty, was leading the championship by 5 points. His head fell off. His pressure got to him. Troy Course, the other guy, crashed in practice and got hurt. So it was all there for me to take, really. And I didn't even win that many races that year, to be honest. I came through at the end of the year, a lot like 94, the last round of the year, the other side of the world in Japan. And like 94, when I crossed the line, knew I'd won the World Championship, I was just in floods of tears. The emotion was just unbelievable. It just so much like 94, against the odds, against me battling with my own sort of demons and motivation to race. I come through it all and won the World Championship again, for the third time.
Going through battles and struggles like that, what are you finding out? What are you learning about yourself during those moments? You obviously, you've got input from people from the outside, but how are you managing that internally through those kind of struggles?
I probably didn't manage it very well, to be honest. I think my wife she put up with a lot, really, and helped me a lot and calmed me down a lot. And maybe sort of focus more on the positives and not so much the negatives and that, really. So I think my team manager said, you won 3 world titles, your wife won 1 of them, because she sorted your head out a little bit. I guess so.
And then I guess back to business, 1999, perhaps next to 95, your best season.
It's again, 99 was like 95, and I knew I was back in my head. I was people said I was a bit lucky to win in 98, and I was. And I just thought in 1999, they're going to see a different me. I'm going to come out absolutely all guns blazing. And just went boom, kicked off straight away with the double win in Kyalami in South Africa. And I hadn't had a double win for 3 or 4 years, to be honest. Yeah, and dominated the year, and I felt great. I was absolutely, loving racing that again that year. I fell back in love with racing again, and was so determined and focused to win the World Championship, and again won it with, I guess, 2 rounds to go, I think, yeah.
And I guess you proved to yourself, you proved to everybody else how good you were, because you know, the list of names in those seasons, you've got the likes of, you know, I've just written them down: Colin Edwards, Troy Corser, Aaron Slight, Noriyuki Haga, although he was probably a bit younger at that stage, but he came on to become a successful rider. You're beating big names here. You're not dominating a quiet era.
No, there's a lot of big name riders. There really was. It's more so then than now, I think, really. But like you say, they were all big characters, big personalities, and very good riders. I would probably never admit that at the time, but they were very good, very fast guys, and to beat them, I had to be faster than them, and luckily I was. Yeah.
And then into 2000, you still, I guess, did you still feel that you were at the peak of your powers when?
I was almost gone back a little bit in 2000. I just thought, here we go again. My head's kind of not right, really. I was having a few family problems. Everyone was falling out. I got injured skiing in my shoulder, and then I did some testing and crashed in testing and injured my other shoulder. And then I went to the first race in Kyalami in South Africa, and I wasn't really ready for the season. I was injured. I didn't do much practicing. I qualified 3rd or 4th, I think, and I was struggling on the right-hand corners. There's quite a few though, even though it was an anti-clockwise circuit. But I finished 3rd in the first race, and it was pretty good. I almost won the race, to be honest. I wasn't too far off, but I kept in trouble with the front and trying to change direction. So I went back to a 17-inch wheel for the second race to help me my shoulder a little bit where I injured, and it felt a lot easier in the second race. But I got a bad start and I was coming through, and front kept rolling a bit on some of the bumps there because it was a narrow tyre, and I lost the front end, crashed out of it, which is crazy, really. So that was that. So I then arrived in Australia fully fit and really ready. My head was in the right place. I was determined to win. I thought I was going to win it. I was fast in practice throughout the 2 days. Made a mess of Super Pole a little bit because it started spitting with rain. But come the race, what turned out to be my last ever race weekend, the heavens opened, and to be honest, it looked like it was going to be dry, and we'd all put sort of cut slicks on, except one guy, Anthony Gobert, on the motor, was way back in qualifying. And the heavens opened, and I was on the wrong tyres, and I just somehow kept the bike upright with people crashing all around me. I rode one of my best races I rode, to be fair, to finish second against the guy who chose wet tyres and won the race. And so I was really pleased with that. And then for the second race, which was a career-ending crash, I remember being on the line thinking, I'm going to win this race now. I'm definitely going to win this race. The track's dried up, everything's fine. And I went for the lights gone to green. I started the race, and I slid on a bit of damp patch from, obviously, early on in the day from the rain. And I got a really bad start. And I remember coming through and passing Anthony Gobert, who'd won the first race, through the start and finish on the first lap. And then I just got no memory of anything then, except hearing a helicopter noise and me coming in and out of consciousness, and had no idea what's happened, to be honest. And obviously it turned out I was coming through the field, and the guy in front of me who was coming up to pass, he had an issue with his bike. He was misfiring, apparently, people who were watching, and so then he cleared, he pulled back onto the racing line. You come up so fast behind him, clipped him, went off, hit the grass at like 120 mile an hour, 130 mile an hour, and hit the tyre wall with kind of my shoulder and my head, and that was it. End of career, you know. And it was like I'd had a third shoulder injury that winter, that season. It's like someone's trying to tell me something here, that it's time to stop, and he's not listening, so we're going to we'll finish him off now, good and proper, and he did. And that was it. And I think I knew pretty much straight away. I thought, there's no coming back from this. A head injury, I was really tired for 6 months, 7 months. I had sort of some bruising on the brain, or a small brain on the bruising. I don't know which way around it was. And I saw this professor, Andrew Carr, at Oxford Hospital, and he said, look, you're never going to get 100% movement back in your shoulder. You maybe get 75% strength and movement back in it. And even now, when I go down like that, that stays there, and this one comes down, you know. So I'll be on a bike, and the decision was made for me, you know. That was it. End of. It's all over. And when I announced my retirement, I was just, again, I just so relieved it was all over. It was like, I didn't realise how well known, how famous I was. It was on a lot of coming across the info bar on Sky News. Carl Fogarty retired. The factory scene was going on the radio and all sorts. And I'm like, everyone's upset. And I was like, I wasn't. I was like, finally, the pressure of being number one, the expectation to be number one, and from the crowd, from the media, from the fans, it's all gone. I can kind of enjoy my life now and just get out and go for a few drinks and go for a curry with the lads and stuff. And yeah, that's how I felt when it was all over, really. Yeah.
So you had the decision taken out of your hands. Do you think how long would you have kept going if that hadn't happened?
God, it's really hard to say, because I think I'd have won in 2000. I'm pretty sure I would. I think my bike was good in 2000. Really strong. It was I remember being the first round and passing the Honda down the straight, and I thought, finally, my bike's the fastest one out there. You know, the Honda VT 1000 Twin. It wasn't that good. So I think we would have won in 2000, to be honest. So then I would have probably carried in 2001. And I don't know. I really don't know. I don't think. I'm not sure whether I've gone on beyond 2001 or not. But it's hard to say. I feel I'm still winning and still felt okay. But I know how I felt going into 2000. I started losing my motivation a little bit. So I think that might have happened in a bigger way in the early noughties. And I think I probably would have retired. I wouldn't have gone on beyond 2003 anyway. There's no way, definitely not. So it'd probably be cut short by 2 or 3 years at maximum, I guess.
You didn't miss out on too much with Foggy then.
No, we had a good run. We did all right. Yeah, probably just a year or two too short, I guess. Not the way I wanted to go out. I wanted to go out by winning that last ever race and being world champion and retiring like that. Would have been cool, but it could have been a lot worse. I'm still here, so I guess I've got to be thankful for that.
Yeah, do you think much about that? Do you consider yourself lucky, or is that not worth thinking about?
Yeah, I do. I think, yeah, because I mean, the way I pushed around the TT circuit and the way I went around the road circuits in Ireland, the way I attacked those circuits, I'm like, whoa. It's only now I look back and think, God, you're lucky to be sat here now, really, yeah. Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Wow, just wow. You can get close to the drivers, you can get close to the cars, you can really feel like you're involved in the action.
It's a fun fair, but with cars.